nation state. One wrong for one mistake, and they take the plate. PAGA notices stacking high. Frivolous claims that make you ask why. Yeah, you need a shield, you need a plan, you need the facts straight from the source. We're charting a new course, of course. Fight the good fight on the right side. It's on the California labor law Odyssey tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the California Labor Law Odyssey After Dark. My name's Tom Manzo, and I'm the host. And tonight we have a very special guest, a prominent labor and employment lawyer from the Los Angeles area, Rich Frey. Rich, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to be here.
So, Rich, how long have you been practicing law for?
Since 1994. I can't even do the math. 32 years or something like that.
32 years. And who are you with now? Which firm?
Nixon Peabody.
Okay. How long have you been with them?
About 4 years.
About 4 years. And your primary practice is engaged in labor and employment?
Yeah, and a little more focused on business litigation, but yes, I normally get asked to help companies solve problems.
Right. What kind of problems, Rich?
Mostly litigation, mostly brought on by the plaintiff's bar.
By the plaintiffs.
And now I'm doing a little bit of labor law where I'm representing employers in their negotiations with unions.
With unions. Okay. And then you're obviously very familiar with our dealings with the Private Attorney General Act and PAGA.
Yes, I
So you
am.
deal with a lot of those cases.
Yes, I do.
How do you feel? Do you feel the reforms are done anything lately that they passed? Or
I haven't felt it on the ground. I know we make arguments based on the reforms, but I haven't felt it on the ground.
So it's a very special evening tonight because California Labor Law Odyssey After Dark is now rebooted, and we're very, very happy to have Rich with us to be part of this inaugural event. And Rich is here today because I believe you're going to discuss some things other than labor and employment laws and kind of where you stand, where you fit and see yourself, I guess, in the political arena. Is that how you would say it?
Yeah, I would say it. For whatever reason, I've always had an interest in the political process. I was a history major. I'll call myself a failed philosophy and political science major, but I always was interested in political theory and kind of whether or not mankind should have certain structures to govern and things like that.
Right.
And more recently, with all the rhetoric and all the hostility that you see with all the decisions that are or are not being made, it got me thinking again, what could I do? And I started writing. And I came up with what I believe is a very interesting approach to solving real world problems. And I think they're all solvable. I just think you got to pick a solution and it's got to be a measurable outcome. And you continue to make slow progress and improve society.
Well, I know I was on the phone with you about, I don't know, a few months ago, and you brought up something, you're like, pragmatic realism. And I was like, what is he talking about? This isn't a labor and employment. This isn't an issue you see in a labor law digest. You know, this is political. And, you know, I think it's interesting. Some of the concepts that you've discussed are interesting. Maybe you could dive into that for us. Tell us a little bit about what you've been working on, maybe what's going to be your next mission in life.
So I will tell you that it's fantastic that I've had the ability to use AI to combine my original thinking with a very quick way of bringing things together. So it's taken what probably would have taken me years to write to be able to reduce it to what I believe is a publishable political theory at this point. And it really focuses on, I grew up thinking Ronald Reagan was my hero for whatever reason. He had a belief in human nature that was mostly positive, that man, if given and I say man in the general sense, if given their opportunity, would do the right thing. And I believe that. Then I became a lawyer and I started representing a lot of people and I saw what really happens. So while I want to believe that man will typically do the right thing or will want to do the right thing, there's plenty of people that will abuse the system, game the system. So I started to think a little bit more, how could I shape my views where you acknowledge that fundamentally men are not perfect. They're not going to do the right thing and that you do need guardrails. And so pragmatic realism is a way of building those guardrails around a free society but having an ordered structure that allows change to happen so the lowest members of society don't feel left out.
Well, you were practicing law for many years. Um, was there a certain event that triggered this? Hey, I think we need to look at things a little bit differently. You went from this person who, loved Reagan to wait a minute, things are looking a little different. Was there a specific event?
So legal events, I'm not going to just share confidential privileged information, but some of those clients probably know who they are. The real event is George W. Bush going into Iraq, where I basically left the Republican Party and have left and not rejoined any party and just kind of taken this kind of, I'm not going to call it centrist, but viewpoint that doesn't seem to fit with either party right now.
So you consider yourself independent?
Very much independent. There are decisions that this pragmatic realism model will generate that you'll think I'm a progressive liberal. There are decisions that you'll think I'm a conservative. I don't know if any decisions that I make you would call me a MAGA conservative, but on some aspects of immigration, it may start like that. But when you hear the whole philosophy, and that's what I want to tell people, if you do want to read anything that we publish on this, you need to read the whole solution. Don't just pick the first part of a solution and say that's bad, because I think these problems need to be solved holistically, not just pieces and parts.
And we'll have the whole thing posted on our social media once we release the video. It'll also be part of a weekly newsletter that gets sent out by California Business and Industrial Alliance. So
good. I welcome that.
Again, we appreciate you being here, Rich, but let's dive into it a little bit deeper. I mean, are there a couple key points that you think are really important, that are fundamental to all of this?
I wrote these down because I want to get it right. This is the first time I'm going to be put on videotape for anybody to cancel me, perhaps my law firm. The 5 beliefs that form the structure of pragmatic realism, and then there's 4 tests that I'll go into in a second. The 5 beliefs are that we should have ordered liberty. And what I mean by that is we have freedom, but it's preserved by the rule of law. I think most people can acknowledge that you need law to have some order in society, but we need freedom. So I call it ordered liberty. Second, structural meritocracy. And what I mean there is, and I'm addressing square on the DEI concepts in America today, I believe, and those of you who are Los Angeles residents, you all know what the I-10 is, the 10 freeway running right through the middle of LA. If I'm going from the west side to the east side, why is it if I go right off the 10, I have an entirely different life experience than if I go left off the 10? It's the same community, Los Angeles, but it looks like the south side of the 10, the one where I go right, looks underserved in terms of infrastructure, what the schools look and feel like. It's not the people there, it's the actual infrastructure. And I believe that hurts people when they're young and when they're vibrant and when they could achieve what people want to call the American dream. So rather than have an ends-oriented, what I believe a DEI approach is, where you try and pick the winners at the end and you equalize, structural meritocracy focuses on making the inputs, the beginnings equal, equalizing those, investing more in the south side of the 10 than you do in the north side of the 10 to equalize it so there's a level playing field. That's structural meritocracy. Third is fiscal sovereignty. I don't think we're going to bore our viewers today with a tax plan, but I think our tax system is out of whack. It's old. It's based on an economy that doesn't exist anymore. And we need to move to a consumption-based tax over an income tax, which I think will properly target the people at the top more than income tax does.
Well, we pay some of the highest taxes in the nation. I mean, California is just as fiscally irresponsible as possible. I mean, as much as I advocate for labor law changes and reform to a lot of the laws, you can't overlook the issue with not knowing how to look at a balance sheet or a profit and loss statement.
So I think I would address the spending of our money in the test section of this philosophy. How much they need is a separate question, and how to generate that revenue. So my fiscal sovereignty is we don't need to go into debt to accomplish things. We can reorder things and better measure.
I think
who's
we
paying
just
what.
need to get back to basics.
I agree with
Whatever happened to our tax dollars going towards, paving the roads and fire departments and police departments, schools?
But I would
What
target.
happened?
I would probably target it more to the communities that are more in need first. That's where I think we don't always get it right. Moving on to the fourth pillar, it's called local primacy. And it's always been a belief of mine, and this may date back to my infatuation with Ronald Reagan, is that local governments, local communities are better able to make decisions affecting them than Washington, D.C. Frankly, LA or local areas of LA are better able to make decisions concerning them than Sacramento. That doesn't mean you don't need laws that regulate generally things, but money should go to the communities and they should get to spend it. So local primacy.
Rich, sometimes I do think if you look at Los Angeles as a whole,
Mhm.
you look at large cities, New York City, they're almost too big. And I think when these cities are so big, potentially that's a easy way to have fraudulent transactions. I mean, I think it's too big. I've always thought, maybe Los Angeles should be divided a bit so certain people don't have as much power over so many people.
Well, if you look at LA as a whole, you have the beach cities, which are separately incorporated. So some Santa Monica is separately incorporated. You do have some of that going on, but I would agree with you that the way LA governs itself doesn't seem to be working. The fifth prong of what I'll call pragmatic realism is dignity of work. And I don't think this is controversial, but and I'm going to say lawful because I believe people who are here and working should be lawful citizens, either on their path to citizenship or actually citizens. Every rung on the ladder towards whatever you want to consider the American dream deserves dignity and value. And so I would measure a lot of decision making along that line. So once you get through the 5 kind of structural beliefs behind pragmatic realism, there are 4 tests. And I was thinking about this when I was coming over here tonight. By the way, congratulations on starting your show again. I love that we're at night so I can have a little drink.
We're Ubering, by the way.
I was thinking about how these 4 tests I'm about to tell you would apply to any political philosophy. I think any law that is being made, regardless Democrat, Republican, socialist, again, we can get into the type of government where they dictate laws, but all rules that people make in society should follow these 4 tests.
Well, Rich, before we dive into that,
Okay.
Why don't we pay some bills and then we'll come back and we'll do a deep dive.
Fight the good fight.
Are you a business owner that's been targeted by a frivolous PAGA lawsuit? Hi, I'm Tom Manzo, founder of the California Business and Industrial Alliance. I'm a businessman that started a group to fight back against the trial lawyers and the politicians. We're even suing the state to fix PAGA. If you're ready to join the fight, call us, 1-888-FIX-PAGA. That's 1-888-349-7242.
Welcome back to the show. Thanks for being part of California Labor Law Odyssey After Dark. Rich, so let's dive in deep. You got 4
tests. 4 prongs of a test that I think apply to virtually any decision,
now,
any rule.
I'm not going to have to. Is this a pass or fail test? Or?
It is not.
Okay. Oh,
it's written down right in front of you.
It's a written test.
Yes.
Oh, I can pass it.
You can pass it. You can pass it. I'm going to list the 4, and we can talk about any ones that you want to. 1, it needs to have proper incentives. 2, the government or the rulemaking body has to have the capacity to enforce it. You can't make laws if you can't enforce them.
Hold on. Let me stop you right there. Let me just stop you right there. California, right? Let's talk about the Private Attorney General Act. right?
They're
They
the
passed the law they couldn't enforce and decided to let outside.
It's worse than that. The law actually prescribes, it actually deals with the fact that they can't enforce it. And they have a total handoff to the plaintiff's bar. As a result, they don't really consider any
And
of
they
these
continue
actions.
to pass bills that they can't enforce. They can't. I don't know how we're going to stop that unless we start to make some changes at the polls. But anyway, go ahead.
So after capacity, I think every rule should have a legitimacy, meaning, will the citizens accept the rule as fair and reasonable? I think every lawmaker should say, is this a fair and reasonable rule? And most important, and this is one that's forgotten almost every time in the United States and in California, you have to be able to measure the results. Let's not write some abstract rule where we can't hold ourselves accountable. I believe the government needs to be accountable for the rules that it makes.
That's a very good point.
And if they make a mistake, that we understand that. Own the mistake, adjust the rule, bring it back on course. But we're now in a society, and this is really what got me thinking about this in the first place. I was sitting there during COVID listening to what I thought were just stupid rules on their face, but fine. I don't know anything about this disease. Who knows? 3 weeks later, we knew it was a stupid rule, and yet nobody was owning it. And then you saw how much abuse was happening. And to this day, like, I hear that our friend Mr. Fauci is now owning some of the mistakes in 2026 that he should have owned in 2021 or 2022. So learn. I think we could do better. Now, our political system fights this. Nobody can say they got it wrong. I mean, our current president doesn't admit he's wrong on anything either. So this is not a pro-Republican, pro-Democrat, anything. Our current leaders do not own their mistakes, and they do not show us how they learn from them.
Well, I would agree. I think a lot of people just in general don't want to admit, hey, I'm wrong. I did something wrong. But I think when you're on the political scale, you're out there, people see you have to be able to say, hey, I messed up. This was a bad decision. We learned from it. We're going to move on. Kind of like the bullet train. How much more money are we going to pour into that? If they would have taken that money and spent it, invested in small businesses, invested in preserving water, to help out with the alleged climate change. I mean, there's a lot of things that could have been done.
The only thing I'm going to say there is because it was voted on as a proposition. I'm not sure what the rules were to allow them to spend the money, but at a minimum, they should have pointed out the problems, shown that I believe there was a lot of fraud in connection with spending that money. Own it, go back with a new proposition on how to spend the money. So I would just have it a little bit slower than just a categorical, you need to change things, because we need to stick to what the laws are. That, to me, a structured, ordered government is the way we should do things, because I think it adds to the legitimacy.
And what have you got for number 4?
For number 4 was results. They have to be measurable.
Okay.
And that we've talked about.
Okay.
You need to be able to look at what the decisions were.
So those are the 4 main.
Those are the 4 tests, and I believe they apply across the board.
Okay.
For
now,
any rule.
What do you think? Because from the sounds of it, it sounds like you're ready to run for governor, and you can't do that. I'm rooting for Steve Hilton here.
I'm edged towards Steve Hilton too, because I think we can solve PAGA pretty quickly. I don't think my wife would let me even answer. She probably doesn't want me to answer this question.
Right.
I believe I could do it. I believe I could show integrity and honesty in a way that our candidates don't. I don't care about influence of the rich people. I tend to be a rebel. I tend to fight against the elites. Arguably, some would say, "What rich? You're now one of them." Like, that's not my core. My core is from a very small town. It is not becoming one of the elites. It'd be fun. I'd love to have the fights. I derive energy from
what
those
about
kind
mayor?
of fights.
Why don't you run for mayor?
I think people have to understand what the power of the LA mayor is, and it's not what people think.
Yeah.
The board of supervisors would be a better approach, because we have 5.
Rich Frey, board of supervisors, 2028.
But when we talk about some of the issues in the public today, I think we can talk about real world solutions, and let's pick controversial topics. I'm willing to be open about any topic, running it through the structure and then testing it. And I think we can answer almost every question that troubles society today.
What, like, all of this you're telling me, it makes sense. I understand where you're coming from. It seems like you've gained a lot of experience over the years, and you feel, hey, maybe this is a time in my life I can start to give back. Maybe there's some things I can do, some ideas that I have that will help
Mhm.
the younger generation and help people get through things. Now, going through all of this, is there like one really specific topic example you'd like to say, hey, this is an issue I would like to go through? What is it?
So a while ago, I started a website for a brief second called Practical Wit. And the first issue I tackled, remember, I grew up a Reagan Republican, was abortion. And I decided that we could, with the concept of practical wit, which is kind of a precursor to this, I decided that I think there's a middle ground that might not make anybody happy, but would put the issue to bed, so to speak, and allow us to move on and make improvements with like adoption and other areas. I think young girls in particular making this decision whether they want to have the abortion or not. I think these are life affecting decisions. And I'm not a girl, I'm not a woman, but I think the mom and dad, or at least the mom, should be involved in helping. So I ran this test on abortion. And what I came to was the federal government, and this is where I'm a little bit bothered by a Republican run government right now. They got their Dobbs decision, they got their decision that got rid of Roe v. Wade. And instead of embracing a preemptive national law that says no state will be allowed to have a law that takes away the right to have an abortion less than 22 weeks into pregnancy, there should be a national floor. And then the federal government gets out. The state governments can deal with whether they want greater protections, but we should just end the issue. So pro-life people are going to hate this answer, but I don't think it's logical to say that at conception, this baby has to you have to go full term and have a baby. I don't think society has a right to take that decision away from the girl or woman. So to me, I can't buy that. The pro-choice people will also have a problem because it doesn't go far enough. But I believe the pro-choice people went too far, which is why Roe v. Wade ultimately got reversed. Because at its core, Roe v. Wade is what I want to go back to, which is just this minimum 22-week floor. It's just all the additive things that people went for that I didn't like. And so the answer is, I could run the test right now. Are there proper incentives? Does it incentivize? Absolutely. Everybody knows you have 22 weeks. And it incentivizes the woman, girl, whatever I'm supposed to call her in that situation, to make a decision. It deals with capacity. The government can enforce that because guess what? The doctors understand when they're going to be accused of murder and when they're not. Right now, you've got doctors who don't know what to do. You've got women who have to cross borders to get abortions. It's crazy what's going on right now. Would it be seen as legitimate? I think this is a fair compromise, almost right down the middle. It's almost the definition of fair. And then results, of course, we can measure it because I think the most important thing is we need to figure out the adoption rules and make it easier for parents who want to have children to offer that to the girl who's gotten pregnant. She may want to have the baby, but can't care for it. Well, our system of adoption and all this other stuff, and I've looked at it a little bit because my wife and I at one time were going to consider it. It's crazy the what you have to go through. So that's how I would address abortion, and I have no problem with this.
We're in a deep subject here, a deep topic.
There you go.
The only thing I will say, we try to stay as neutral as possible on everything.
Mhm.
I do think there's a lot of extremism on both sides. It's very obvious what happened to that middle of the road ground. It does not seem like we have it anymore. Yeah, I tell everybody, they ask me, are you a Republican or a Democrat, Tom? And I says, I'm a liberal Republican and a conservative Democrat.
There you go.
Well, what kind of answer is that? Well, it's the answer that, I think at one time we kind of used to be.
So I wish
And it
the
would be
question
nice to
was,
get
Tom,
back there.
or the answer would be, what's the issue? I would rather go issue by issue instead of labels.
Right.
I think that's what got us into this problem. Our electoral system favors Democrat, Republican, and then there's got to be this list of things you do. We're seeing it with our current president. He's anointing certain Republicans because they think his way.
Right.
That doesn't mean, by the way, there's a few of his ideas that you would probably see me run the test and I might side with him on them. There's a few. There's a few that I would side with Barack Obama. It depends on the question.
It just seems like you're implementing something that makes sense, that people should probably stop, take a look at. If you get a chance, read it. It's going to be on a lot of our social media posts.
You want to hit another third rail topic?
Do we have time, Roberto? How are we doing time-wise? You think we're good? 5? Okay.
You want to hit another third world topic? Third rail topic?
I'm afraid to ask, but go ahead. Let's hear it.
Immigration.
Uh-oh.
Let's go for immigration. We have a president right now, and I'm just going to trust that the borders are closed.
Now I need a drink for sure.
I'm definitely for having a secure border. The concept of closed, I think, is a little bit abrupt and weird. Secure with orderly immigration, that's the border I think a nation deserves and needs. And so you have a president that may have succeeded with our existing laws, which, by the way, doesn't surprise me. I got a kick out of hearing Democrats tell me, well, the laws don't allow them to enforce. That's BS. I won't use the word. That is garbage. The laws are there to regulate the borders. They've been on the books for a long time. They chose not to regulate. Well, that's a mistake. Separately, once you have a secure, I hate the word closed, as I told you, you need to have a legal pathway. If it's true, and I have no reason to disbelieve that the construction industry, agriculture industries, certain other industries believe they need workers, and I may even say low-cost workers for some of those industries, why not?
Entry-level jobs.
Okay, but entry-level in our state now is near $20 an hour.
That's talking if you're at a fast food restaurant.
Okay, but
if you're at a hotel, it's 24. 25 now, I think.
So what I would recommend, and again, I ran the tests, I looked at the kind of core philosophies of pragmatic realism. It is very legitimate for us to go, and I'm just going to say Guatemala. I don't know why I'm picking just some country that's south of us that I believe, based on how many people come here from there, that if they came here and made $8-10 an hour in the construction industry or agricultural industry, and we had other protections for them, like certain safety limitations, I don't want portable slavery. I'm not for that. So we need people. But the reality is they would think that's a step up from where they're at. That's why they're coming here. That's the American dream. That was the lie told to us in the election, that somehow closing the border was defeating the American dream. The American dream were immigrants who came in through Ellis Island, who went into the inner cities.
Just like my grandparents.
My grandparents, or great, whatever. It's a long time ago. They battled, grinded. You see it today with a lot of people. They grind it, and then their children go to college, and then their children's children go get a professional degree. That's the American dream. It's a gradual change. It isn't this sudden, you're all of a sudden at the top. You earn your way once you get here. So we need to open those doors. And one way to do that is for the federal government to not only help identify these areas, but tell states like California that your minimum wage and hour rules are not going to apply to those industries. Define those industries in a way. Again, we want to respect human dignity. One of the core would be, a lot of people feel that when you get a visa with a company, if that company no longer needs you, I think some people would tell me, and I'd have to talk to an immigration lawyer, that your visa may not be valid. I think the visas need to be portable. If you're staying in the industry, just because one employer doesn't have you, you should be able to go get another job.
There's a lot of issues, with immigration, and there's a lot of people that have been here many years, and I think if they're not causing any trouble. They're raising a family. They definitely need a pathway to citizenship. If somebody's here bringing value, to our country,
So that is the
we
third
should appreciate them.
the third element, and this is where I'm disappointed at a Republican-led Congress with a Republican president. I understand the lead isn't that big. Right now, the Republicans have the ability to draft the path to citizenship issue, where, my first sentence to the law, and again, we can run the test. For any person who's here whose only crime is being here illegally, meaning they're otherwise productive members of our society, I understand they may not want to be found right now because they're worried that Trump's going to throw them out. For any person whose only crime is being here illegally, here's the path to citizenship. It's another thing that would be easy to do because guess what happened? I believe the borders are now secure.
We've had years and years and years of administrations that could have done something about immigration, and it's not been done. And I think the issue is, again, we have just two sides right now on the extreme end of it. They're not looking in the middle. How do we come up with a solution? How do we come up with a way to make immigration work again like it did in the 1900s?
Secure the border, set legal pathways, look at the people who are here illegally, but that's their only crime, and create a path to citizenship. That hits all of the benchmarks. I understand it. People used to say, let's do the path to citizenship, and then some people then called it amnesty. I'm not saying amnesty. There is a path. They need to respect that they're becoming American citizens. That it's valuable. Just look at it. Look how many people want to come here. There's a value there, and we have the right to preserve that value. So that, to me, would be the core foundation to address immigration. I frankly don't believe it would be that difficult if people would accept this result.
I think it's Rich Frey for president again now.
All I'm saying is I think if
two big topics here, abortion and immigration. Wow. That's kicking off a show, everybody.
I think we could solve almost every problem if we just take a step back and look at the tests and look at what we really want as an American country.
Rich, you got any final thoughts for tonight?
Private Attorney General's Act. It needs to go away. Now, what I'll tell you is
gone.
PAGA was created, I understand, because of PAGA. That's a law that was horrible from the get-go. It literally says we can't enforce our laws, so we're going to hand this over to privately incentivized lawyers to prosecute them. It's like disclaiming the ability to be a government. The fact that they call it, the title itself, Private Attorney General, is like they created a new creature.
An army. It's an army. But
it's a new thing that doesn't even exist in our Constitution. We have an Attorney General. It's an elected official. I think this is airing the day or so after the election.
Right.
I think people just voted for an Attorney General, or at least they will be in November. And that Attorney General is elected. Private Attorney Generals, that's not a thing that exists in our Constitution.
Yeah.
These are deputized employees who act through their lawyers who are trying to get money to prosecute state law. Just take a step back and listen to that sentence. Nobody can contradict what I'm saying with this. Privately incentivized, economically incentivized attorneys are prosecuting California law, and they get money for doing so. That's unheard of. We may as well have private lawyers go prosecute criminals.
Worst law in the nation. Most severely abused law in the nation.
So
highest penalty phase in the nation.
Other people have tried to emulate it, and they run into these issues and they can't enact it. Even New York, they try the Empire Act. I know Oregon, Washington have tried to look at PAGA type laws, and they all get confounded by the issue of how do you hand off this power to the private attorneys?
Doesn't make sense.
So,
well, Rich, an amazing evening here with you. We really appreciate it.
I think we need a drink. I think we need a drink. We covered a lot.
We covered a lot of ground here tonight.
To anybody who's considering canceling me at this point because they pick a snapshot of something, you should read what we publish, and you should read the whole thing. And thank you.
Rich, thanks for coming on. Viewers, thank you very much for watching us, being a part of the California Labor Law Odyssey After Dark. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon.